Welcome to ACE Geometry. Our first set of notes are going to go in the ACE course packet. Unit 1 is points, planes, and lines. The beginning of each unit has a set of course objectives. You should look at these as you're working your way through the notes and the course material and preparing for a test, and ask yourself, am I able to do these things? The first set of objectives are all content, such as are you able to identify something, can you name something, those sorts of questions. The second set of objectives are processes, and this is really where we get to using the information you have learned. So content is basic knowledge, vocabulary, knowing the shapes, being able to identify something. Process is using that content in order to solve a problem. For each unit, there's a set of vocabulary words that are already posted on the wiki in the form of a PowerPoint presentation. That's designed to save you some time writing. So for the first page, you're going to fill out all of this based on the PowerPoint that's in the wiki. I also want to point out some key features of the coordinate plane. This is a model coordinate plane, which is simply a set of two perpendicular number lines that intersect at the 0 points. Keep in mind that the x-axis is always the horizontal axis, and the y-axis is always the vertical axis. The point where they intersect is called the origin, and that is the point 0, 0, the origin. The coordinate plane is divided up into 4 sections, and they are labeled as if you were drawing the letter C. You start in the upper right, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, as if you were drawing a large letter C. One of the important things about geometry is being able to use proper vocabulary. It's really important that when we are all discussing the concepts and different things that we use the same terminology so that we understand one another. Therefore, it's important to know how to properly name things. The first thing we're going to talk about are lines. So this is an example of a line. It has an arrow on both ends. When we name a line, you can either use a lowercase script letter, such as, in this case, we're going to call it the letter N. And if I were to name that, I would call it line N. And the symbol I would use would be just the lowercase letter. You can also name a line using 2 points. So if I have 2 points on my line, such as point A and point B, I can also call this line AB. Notice I write the AB with no symbol above it. That's because this is how I would speak the name in words. If I were to write the name as a symbol, I would write the 2 points AB, and I would have to put the symbol for a line above it. When naming a line, you can use any 2 points, and the order of the points does not matter. So this line could also be called line BA, and that would also be correct. In the figure below, we have another line. I would like you to put 4 points on the line. We're going to name those points B, C, D, and A. It only takes 2 points to define a line. You can use any 2 points that are on the line. So if I were to list the possible combinations that I could use to name this line, I could call it line BA, I could call it line AB, I could call it line CB, line CD, and so forth. There are 12 combinations of names that you could use. The symbol above the 2 points is really important. If I were to name this line BD, I would write the B and the D for the points and put the symbol above. Without the symbol, okay, so BD without this symbol above actually means something different. It means the distance between the points. between the points B and D. That's a B. Sorry, it's a little messy there. So if I simply write BD, I'm talking about a distance. That's a measure. But if I write BD with a symbol over it, then I'm simply naming the line that contains those 2 points. For planes, there are also 2 different ways to name a plane. A line takes 2 points to define it. It takes 3 points to define a plane. We have several choices on how to name this as well. Frequently, a plane is named by a capital script letter. So we can name by a capital, unlike a line which uses lowercase. And an example would be R or E, something like that. So if this was my representation of a plane, I could name this plane R. The other way to name it is by using 3 non-collinear points. Keep in mind, non-collinear means that the points are not all on the same line. So in this particular plane, if I had the points Q, P, and S, I could name this plane QSP. Notice there is no symbol written above. It's simply the 3 letters. Sometimes we have to use common knowledge or terminology when we're talking about the 3-dimensionality of a particular shape. So for example, if I have a straight line, and I'm going to name this line M, just using my little lowercase script letter, and it happens to contain the point P. The way that I would describe this is I would say the line M passes through the point P. So I simply can name the point using the capital letter, the line using the lowercase script, and I would describe it as saying that the line passes through P. When I have 2 lines that meet at a common point, and in this case I'm going to call that point B, and I'm going to call this one line M and line L, I would describe this situation by saying that M and L intersect at point B. Starting with page 3, we're going to look at an example in which I would like you to plot and name the following 4 points, A, B, C, and D. Keep in mind that the coordinates of a point start with X and the second number is Y. So we'll plot each of these 4 points and name the coordinates. Once you have the points plotted, I'd like you to draw and label a figure showing that lines AB and CD intersect at point F. To get line AB, I'm going to connect the 2 points A and B. Remember that lines always have an arrow on both ends to indicate that they actually go on in infinity in both directions. So now I have my 2 lines, and I'm going to find the point where they intersect and name that point F. Also, plot a point G that is coplanar with A, B, and C, and D, and F, but is not contained in either line. Therefore, it's not collinear either. That point can be anywhere in the plane as long as it's not on one of the lines. As we talk about points and planes and lines, there are several postulates that we need to be aware of. For example, postulate 2.1 says that through any 2 points there is exactly 1 line. Exactly 1. It's not possible to draw 2 different lines through the same 2 points. In keeping with that, a line contains at least 2 points. Through any 3 points not on the same line, there is exactly 1 plane. And therefore, similarly, a plane contains at least 3 points not on the same line. If two planes intersect, then their intersection is a line. This might best be imagined if you took a piece of paper and you folded it to get a crease line. Those two pieces of the paper on opposite sides of the crease line could represent two different planes, and the crease line would be the line where they intersect.
Up.